All right, let's take a look at some of these CMA-based math questions here in the handout that I gave you. Number one, what's the correct adjustment to be made to the value of an 1,800 square foot comparable property which sold in an area where living area is valued at $110 per square foot if it's being compared to a subject property which is 1,700 square feet? So they're asking for one adjustment, and your subject property is 1,700 square feet. Your comparable property is 1,800 square feet. So subjects here, comps up here. Which way are we going? Down. So it's going to be a negative adjustment. So we're going to be minus how many square feet? 100 times 110 per square foot. So is that $11,000? So the adjustment is minus $11,000. Okay? Number two, what's the indicated value? So the difference between an adjustment and indicated value, the adjustment is just the plus or minus. The indicated value is taking the sales price and then applying the adjustment and coming up with a new sales price. Okay? What's the indicated value of 123 Main Street, which has 2,300 square feet, 2.5 baths, and a 2-car garage, if it is compared with 989 Oak Drive, which is 2,300 square feet, 3 baths, and a 2-car garage, and sold for $320,000 in an area where square footage is valued at $140 per? A full bath is $9,000, half bath is $5,000, and a 2-car garage is worth $12,000. So we want to make our two charts again. Excuse me, brain's not working after lunch. Got my subject property, my comparable property, and so I'm just going to start writing down criteria. Size. My subject property is 2,300 square feet. And what does my comparable have?
2,300.
2,300 as well. Okay. Next thing, full baths and half baths. Well, my subject has 2 full and 1 half. My comp has 3 full and no half. And then 1-car garages, 2-car garages. We have what do we have in the subject? They both have 2. Okay, so that's going to be 0, 1. Does everybody agree with kind of how we've broken this out so we can do our comparisons?
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? Splitting out the bathrooms, splitting out the garages. I mean, I recognize that the garage, I'm not going to have to make an adjustment, but I'll just get in that habit, splitting them out. Size, do we need to make an adjustment? No. Oh, and we forgot to write down our starting point. $320,000. Okay? No adjustment for size, so that's a 0. Do we need to make an adjustment for full baths? Yes. My subject has 2. My comp has 3, so which way am I going? Down. So minus the value of a full bath, which is minus what? $9,000. Okay. Half baths, my subject has 1, my comp does not, so that's going to be a plus the value of a half bath.
I thought you only changed the comps 5,000. Only changed.
That's what I'm changing.
0. You have to take it to 1, which would be a bonus. Okay.
You okay? Okay. 1-car garages, do I need to make an adjustment? No. Nope. 2-car garages, do I need to make an adjustment? No. So that's everything they've given me. So that's going to be $316,000.
And that would be the indicated.
That's the indicated value. That's the indicated value based on that one comp.
Would a good way to get, when you're going back over and rechecking everything, a good thing to do to look at this like a step back and go, okay, well, my subject is smaller, therefore this number should be less than that number or something?
Good, gotcha.
Well, that's a good way to look at it but, you know,
I mean, knowing, if you can look at it and tell.
if you can isolate it down to it, right, but if you've got a bunch of adjustments, it's really hard to just sort of look at it and say. Number 3, a comp is 125 square feet smaller than the subject at $40 per square foot. What adjustment should be made? So the comp is the subject. You could even write this out like this if you wanted to. The subject is 0, and the comp is what? Minus 125. You could do it like that if you wanted to, because you always want to look at it from the perspective of the comp. So what do we need to make them even? Up 125. So we're going to be plus 125 times 40, right? And how much is that? So plus $5,000. Number 4, a prospective seller has asked a broker to help him estimate a reasonable selling price for his property. Properties in the local market are appreciating at a rate of 2% per year. Using the sales comparison approach to value and using just one comparable property that sold for $187,200 7 months ago, what adjustment should be made to account for appreciation? So appreciation, remember, is based on the sales price of the comp. So in this case, that's $187,200 times 2% annual appreciation. So is that 3744? Is that right? $37.44. That's annual. And we want to divide that by 12 to get the monthly. What do we come up with monthly appreciation? $312 per month. And it sold how many months ago?
7.
So times 7 months. 2184. So that's going to be plus 2184.
So you got to write the plus to get that.
Right, because whenever they're asking for an adjustment, there's always going to be pluses and minuses. They would also have minus 2184 as an answer choice. Okay? Number 5, in estimating the market value of a residence by sales comparison approach, the appraiser verified the $70,000 sales price of a comp and estimated that prices for a similar residence had increased by 2% since the date of sale of the comp. After comparing features of the comparable and subject residences, she made adjustments for 4 factors as follows. So I'm going to go ahead and write down my chart here so I can start filling the stuff in. I've only got one comp. So my starting point for my comp is $70,000, right? And I know the first thing I'm going to have to do is plus 2% appreciation. So I'm just going to write down plus 2% before I start anything else, because it said it appreciated 2% since the date of sale. That's to that $70,000. That's exactly right. So that's kind of why I like to write it down first, so I don't do the other stuff first.
So can you go ahead and do the 70,000 times the 2% and write that number and then do everything else?
Sure.
Okay.
You could do that. Yep, you can do that. Okay, so after comparing features, she made adjustments for 4 factors. Number 1, location. So we're adjusting for location. I'm going to write location over here to the left. The subject is better by $1,000. I can't read that. That blows my mind, because I can only talk in terms of the what? The comp. So make that into the comp. Comp worse, right? So I just write worse by $1,000, right? Well, let's just write everything. It will. That's exactly right. But let's write them all down, and then we'll come through and do the actual adjustments, okay? Okay. Number 2, site features. What does it tell us there? The comp is worse by $500. Size. Comp is better by $1,600, right? And condition, the comp is better by $800. So now I know what to do, because if for location, if my comp is worse, it's down here, right? So which way am I going? Up. So that's going to be plus $1,000. And on site features, it's plus 500. Size, it's minus 1,600. Condition, minus 800. Does everybody see why those are all that way? Everybody okay on the direction for all those adjustments? Okay. Now, the one thing we haven't done is the appreciation. And they said that the comparable property had appreciated by 2% since the date of sale, right? 2% of what number? $70,000. So that's going to be plus 1,400, right?
And we're just assuming that that was 12 months ago?
You're not assuming it at all. It didn't say 2% annual. It said it had increased by 2% since the date of sale, so you don't have to break it down.
Gotcha.
Does everybody understand where the $1,400 came from? That's 2% of $70,000 times 2%. Okay? So now I'm ready to just do my adjustments. And it's just 70,000 plus 1,400 plus 1,000 plus 500 minus 1,600 minus 800. 75,000? 70,500. What's a plus? Doesn't have a plus or minus. That's the indicated value. You only have a plus or minus when it's your adjustment amount.
So that's like the probably
That's what our subject property would probably sell for based on this comparable property. So if you were telling the seller this is what your house is going to sell for, you would say $70,500 based on what this other one did. Number 6, the subject house on an appraisal has 1,950 square feet. A highly similar comparable house in the same neighborhood has 2,100 square feet and recently sold for $90 per square foot plus $30,000 for the lot. Make sure you pay attention to that's all grouped together. That's the sales price of the comp, folks. They didn't give it to you as a raw number this time. They gave it to you as per square footage plus lot value. So,
Wouldn't that be step 1?
well, you gotta have a starting point, right?
Right.
Yeah, you gotta have a starting point. So, if we need to know what the comp sold for, what we're gonna have to do is 2,100 square feet, which is the size of the comp, times what?
90
$90 per square foot.
plus 30,000.
And what's the 2,100 times 90?
189.
That's $189,000 plus the $30,000 for the lot. 219 is what our comp sold for.
So would that be location as one of our tick marks for lot?
Okay. So let's see what we got here as far as our adjustments go. We've got our subject, we've got our comp, and our comp starting point was 219. Is everybody okay on the 219 as far as the sales price for the comp? Everybody good with where that number came from? Good. All right, so break it down. The subject house has a square feet of 1,950. The comp is 2,100. Okay? The subject lot is worth more, $4,000 more than the comparables lot. How do I say that in terms of the comp?
It's worse.
It's worth $4,000 less, right? The comp is worth $4,000 less. Because I always have to make it about the comp. I can't say things in terms of the subject. If it says the subject's lot is worth $4,000 more, then I'm just flipping that around. I'm not making an adjustment. I'm not moving my hands. I'm not doing any of that yet. I'm just restating it in terms of the comp, $4,000 less. The subject has a deck worth, so I'm going to put deck over here, Yes. Subject has a deck worth $3,000 that the comparable does not have. So I'm going to put no on the comp. Yes, there's a deck on the subject. No, there's not a deck on the comp. Based only on these factors, what's the indicated value? So, making an adjustment for the square footage. Subject's 1950. Comp is what? 2100. Which way am I adjusting?
Up.
Down. Subject property is in my left hand and never moves.
Oh, the comp is more.
Yes. So I've got to come down to the subject. Okay? So I'm subtracting the value of how many square feet? 150 times $90 a square foot is how much? So that's minus $13,500. Okay? What? It's literally impossible to miss a step unless you're jumping around like a jackrabbit and don't know where they're going. Because if you make the chart and you work top to bottom, there's no such thing as missing a step. If the two things are equal, you don't make an adjustment. If they're not equal, you got to make an adjustment. There's no need to skip ahead. There's no skipping ahead in the math in this class, folks. When you got 15 steps and you don't know how to do one of them, you may as well go to a different question. I'm just being honest with you, right? I see people do that in closing statement math all the time, and I'll walk up to them and I go, excuse me, why are you wasting your time? Well, I know how to do all these 18 steps, but I don't know how to do this one. Well, guess what? You still can get a question wrong. I don't mean that in a defeatist way. I mean, don't skip steps. Don't skip anything because you know how to do. Don't pick and choose the things you like and the things you don't like. Because what happens then is you forget to go back. You forget a step. You forget something. You work with them exactly in the order that you've got them written down. Okay? So, we've got our adjustment for square footage for the lot. If the comp is worth $4,000 less, which way do we need to go? Up. Subject's right here. Comp is $4,000 less. We got to go up. So that's plus $4,000. And then the deck. Subject has a deck. Comp what? Does not. Which way are we going? Up. And how much is the deck worth? $3,000. So 219 minus 13.5 plus 4 plus 3. Let's see, I've got, that's plus 7 minus 6,500, 212,500. Yep. $212,500.
It's a long question.
You don't like them like that?
Well,
That's just gonna be on the test.
That's it.
is this the same type of question, just a different, I mean, is there something in here we don't know how to do yet?
No, there's
Can we
none.
do it on our own and see if we
You are going to do it on your own.
That give me a headache already to look at.
No, I'd just rather know if
Stuff
I
like
got
that
it
and
or
skip
not.
that.
So go ahead and work on number 7.
Oh, thank you.
upgrade valued at 20,000, that's something we use. It's not like what you're talking about, cost doesn't matter.
No, it's not
Okay.
valued at.
Don't you laugh at me?
I'm laughing because we're doing it at the same time.
I finished writing all the adjustments down, but I don't have my calculator right here in front of me. Borrow your calculator real quick.
That's the best calculator in the world. All the tricks.
you got?
That's wrong.
Mm.
What did I do wrong?
What's the answer?
Did you, I have to take off the 5% before I did any of the minuses.
Right. But it's not 5% though. It's 5% annually. How long ago did it sell? Forget it.
Thing and to the garages and stuff, but it said that it has a bonus room, but it's not saying how much the bonus room is worth.
You can't do anything with it.
Okay. And then also for the 5%,
Mm-hmm.
so I know it's appreciated, so this has gone up by 5% over the past year.
But how long ago did it sell?
Oh wait, no, 6 months. Most then you do half of.
I wouldn't do half. I would do by 12 and then times 6. It's going to be the same answer, but if you do it by half, you're not going to know what to do when it's 5 months. I would just get in the habit of dividing by 12 to get the monthly and then times 6. Well, hang on. I'm coming back. Yeah. Yep. Want to see?
Not yet.
One thing I missed. No, I didn't round up. Yeah, I didn't put any dollars. Yeah.
But they asked for rounded to the nearest $1,000, right? So $258,000. So let's just kind of run through. Why did that do that? Stop. There we go. Run through the adjustments. Obviously, I started with my comp at $253,000. They told me there was a difference in age, but they didn't give me any adjustment for it, so I just have to assume I'm not supposed to adjust for it. So that's a 0. Siding was the same. That's a 0. For the size, I subtracted the value of 150 square feet. So that was minus $16,500. Beds were the same. Full baths were the same. Half baths were the same. Make any adjustments there. 1-car garages. My subject had one. My comparable does not. So what do I need to do? Add the value of a 1-car garage. That's plus 10,000. 2-car garages. My subject has none. My comparable has 1. So what do I need to do? I've got to what? My subject does not have 1. My comp does have 1. And bring it down by $15,000. So did everybody get that two-way adjustment for the garages? Your garages should have been plus 10 minus 15. Okay? Bonus, they didn't give me enough information to do anything with it, so I just left it alone. Upgrades. My subject is upgraded. My comp is not upgraded. So I've got to do what? Add the upgrades, and what do they tell me the upgrades were worth? $20,000, so that's plus $20,000. And then the last piece I had was the appreciation, which was just the sales price of $253,000 times 5%, which is annual appreciation, divided by 12 to get to monthly appreciation times 6 months. Yes, I know you can divide it in half, but it's probably a good habit to just go to monthly every time, because then you'll know what to do when it's 3 months or 5 months or 8 months. It doesn't matter.
So you wrote down like a vinyl and age and stuff. Do we have to break it
No,
down?
no. If you can reckon, I just did it to show that I was just kind of listing things out, the whole thing out. If you clearly see that they're the same and you don't need to adjust them, don't worry about writing it down. And bluntly, if I was doing it just for me and not demonstrating it, I wouldn't write it down. You know, I would go through and pick out the things that I know I'm going to have to make adjustments for. But until you get comfortable with it, it's not a bad idea to write out everything. Sounds like you are. So, okay? How we feel about this? That's a very good example of one you might see on a test. You know, there again, like I told you from the jumping off point with CMAs, the actual math is not hard. It's very easy math because it's just straight addition and subtraction. It's getting in my mind which way I'm adjusting. Am I a plus or am I minus? Because it is very easy to go the wrong way on one number. When you're making 5, 6, 7 adjustments, it's very easy to go the wrong way on one.
If you do go the wrong way on one, is it going to be obvious to you when you start looking at the answer choices?
They will try to guess which ones you take the wrong way, and they'll intentionally make that an answer choice. But obviously in one like this where there's several adjustments, it would just be kind of luck of the draw if you went the wrong way on the same one they did to make you think it was wrong.
So maybe, maybe not.
Maybe, maybe not, right. All right. Now, number 8 is a little bit different. Number 8 looks at things from a different perspective. You don't have an adjustment amount. You are asked to come up with an adjustment amount. What it tells you is you've got a 1,400 square foot house that sells for $165,000 and a 1,500 square foot house that sells for $175,000. What is the value of finished living area per square foot in this neighborhood? Well, what is the difference in the square footage? So we got 100 square feet. And how much market value did that 100 square feet have? $10,000. Where did that come from?
Subtracting the 1,500 square foot from the 1,400.
That's exactly right. It's just the difference in sales price of the two, right? The one that was 100 square feet bigger sold for $10,000 more money. So a buyer was willing to pay $10,000 for that 100 square feet. Is everybody on the same page with me there? And if a buyer is willing to pay $10,000 for that 100 square feet, could we figure out how much a buyer is willing to pay for 1 square foot? Do what? Divide it by 100. So if we divide that $10,000 by 100, 1 square foot is worth how much money? $100. $100. I'm sorry? I would not recommend doing it in your head, right? I'd recommend just writing it down and doing it out. They do try to do that, like with profit and loss questions. You know, like we haven't done profit and loss yet, but just quickly they'll say, you know, Travis paid $80,000 for a house and he sold it for $100,000. What's his percent profit on the sale? Because they know people are likely to naturally fire back 20% because they think $20,000 profit on $100,000. The problem is it's not $20,000 profit on $100,000. It's $20,000 profit on $80,000 because that's what you paid. So therefore it's a 25% profit. Not so. No, I don't recommend doing them just because they do try to throw obvious simple math ones out there that, you know, trick you up a little bit. But does everybody understand where $100 per square foot comes from on this question?
I have a question.
Okay.
If it was $100 per square foot, wouldn't the house be $140,000 or $165,000 respectively?
No, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
And here's why it doesn't work that way. Remember that question we had earlier where it was a certain amount per square foot plus some amount for the lot?
Right.
When you talk about a per square foot number, what you're talking about is an adjustment number per square foot. You're not simply talking about taking the purchase price and dividing by the square feet, because if you do that, you're not accounting for the land at all. Remember, the lot costs the same thing whether we build a 1,400 square foot house or a 1,500 square foot house, right?
So this would say in the question, would it have the word adjustment somewhere so we knew?
No. So the value of finished living area per square foot is $100. You know, that just doesn't include the land value. See, it's a mistake to take the sales price of a house and divide by the square footage and say that's what that house sold for per square foot. That is a horrible mistake because that's not what that house sold for per square foot. That's what the land plus the house sold for per square foot. And so people do that all the time.
Yeah.
People do it all the time. Okay, that's a good question. Does everybody understand what she was asking there?
That's something I
Like,
did not know.
basically, she's saying, can you just can you, if it was really $100 a square foot, wouldn't this house be $140,000 instead of $165,000? And the reason it's not is because apparently the lot must be worth $25,000. Is everybody with me on that? Okay, that's a good question.
And that other house has a smaller lot.
Must, right? There must be some difference there. Okay? All right, so number 9. Based on the information shown below for the subject property, and if you haven't noticed my trend with math questions yet is to build you up in topics, right? Give you the most simple type of a question and then give you one that's a little bit more complex. So this question is going to be an extension of the one we just did. And the one I just gave you, I didn't give you the adjustment, right? I asked you to basically look at the two properties and figure out the adjustment. Well, look at this. It's a CMA, but what did they not give us? They didn't give us the adjustments. They want you to do a CMA, but they didn't tell you how much a bathroom is. And here's the problem. Am I going to have to adjust for bathrooms? Yeah, because right here I got 2 in my subject and 1 in one of my comps. Am I going to have to adjust for square footage? Yeah. Am I going to have to adjust for bedrooms? No. So I don't need to know an adjustment for bedrooms. I can get rid of those, right? And just cross those off. But I do need an adjustment for square footage. And I do need an adjustment for bathrooms. I have to figure those adjustments out. If I look at my comps, because I know what the comps sold for, and I start comparing them, do you see some similarities between them?
2 are 1,300 and 1 is 11.
There are a lot of similarities between them, right? So if I started looking at square footage, for example, can I find 2 comps that are exactly the same except for square footage?
Yes. No.
I can't?
The bath.
I can't say that and that?
2 or just
Just the square footage.
Can I find 2 comps that are exactly the same except for square footage? Cell 1.
Subject has 2. Subject
But
has
subject is not a comp.
I'm not talking about the subject. Look at the comps.
Subject, these are the comps.
Cell 1 and cell 3
Not the same.
are identical except for what? Square footage. That is the only difference between them. Cell 1 and cell... Does everybody see that? What other difference is there between them? Look up here. If the only difference between them in features is square footage, but there was $8,000 difference in sales price, can't we say that that feature was worth $8,000? And in this case, that feature happens to be the square footage, right? So, 200 square feet must be worth $8,000. You okay, Michaela?
So, I guess we're skipping some math. To get to 200, we have to subtract 1,300 from 11.
All I'm doing is looking at the differences between the two. What's the difference between sale number 1? What's that noise? Are we being gassed in here? Like, sounds like somebody dropped a Zyklon B canister in here or something. Sale number, that's a bad reference. Sale number 1 and sale number 3. Are they exactly the same except for one feature? Michaela, you okay?
Yes, I was just trying to get where you got those numbers, but I see you're subtracting them out. So I had to
Right, I'm isolating what the one difference is. The one difference between them is 200 square feet, right? And so that one difference must have accounted for this difference in sales price, which is the $8,000. Is everybody there with me now?
Yes.
Okay, so if 200 square feet is worth 8,000, could I figure out what 1 square foot's worth? By dividing by 200, right? So if I divide that 8,000 by 200, I get 1 square foot being worth 40 bucks. So $40 per square foot. Does everybody agree with that? Okay. Now, I'm going to put that off to the side, and I'm going to do some erasing so I can just visually demonstrate the next step for you. So I'm going to put $40 per square foot right here off to the side. All right, now I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. Try to, anyway. Okay. So we got one adjustment. What else did we say we needed to adjust for? We said we don't need to adjust for bedrooms. We've taken care of square footage. So what are we left with that we need an adjustment for? Bathrooms. I'm going to have to adjust for baths. So now I'm looking for, are there two comps that are absolutely identical with the exception of bathrooms? Sale 1 and sale 2. If I look at sale 1 and sale 2, square footage is the same, bedrooms are the same, but baths are different. There's a 1 bath difference. And how much did that account for in sales price? Fancy bathroom. When 1 bath is worth more than 200 square feet, we got some fancy baths in this house, right? But did we just come up with our adjustment for bathrooms? Yes. So I can write that down here to the side. 1 bath equals $10,000. Oh, stop doing that. There we go. See, I finally learned how to fix it when it's like a mixing table. I have to go back up and catch it or something. Yeah, exactly. DJ Travy Trav up here, you know. Okay. All right. So. What other guy are we making music videos? Joe's making music videos? That'll be interesting. So, now, am I ready to do the CMA? Now that I have the adjustments, I've basically just gotten myself to the point where I was in all the other questions, right? I'm ready to actually do the CMA and come up with a value for my subject property. I'm ready to start making my adjustments. So now I'm finally ready to look at the subject over here and start making the adjustments. So for sale 1, comparing it to my subject property, do I need to make a square footage adjustment? Yes. My subject's here at 1,200. My comp is at 1,300, so I am minus the value of 100 square feet. So how much is 100 square feet worth? So that's going to be minus $4,000, because that's $40 per square foot, right? Times how many square feet? 100. Do I need to write that out longhand?
No.
It's minus. My comp's got 100 square feet, 1,300 square feet, right? So I need to come down. So I know it's a minus. And it's minus how many square feet? 100 times how much per square foot? $40 per square foot, sorry. So that's minus $4,000. Right? I don't need to make an adjustment for bedrooms, 2 and 2. I don't need to make an adjustment for bathrooms, 2 and 2. So my indicated value is going to be $120,000 starting price minus $4,000. So what do we end up with? $116,000 for comp 1. Right? We ready to do comp number 2? Comp number 2. Do I need to make an adjustment for square feet?
Yes.
Comp number 2. 1,200 square feet, 1,300 square feet. Do I need to make an adjustment? Yes. My comp is 1,200. My subject's 1,300. That's a negative adjustment. How many square feet am I adjusting for? 100. And they're worth how much per square foot? 40. So it's 100 times 40 again. Same adjustment. Minus $4,000. Okay, good? Everybody good? Do I need to make a bath adjustment? Yes, because my subject has 2 baths. My comp has 1 bath. Subject has 2. Comp has 1. Which way am I going? Up by the value of a bath. And how much is a bath worth? So that's plus $10,000. So what's my starting point for comp 2? 110 up at the top, minus 4,000, right? Plus 10,000. What do I end up with? 116.
So you have to do the last one if you get 16,000 twice.
Not really, but we're going to do it anyway. Yeah.
Just to be safe.
Just for testing.
So do we need to make a square footage adjustment on comp 3? Yes. My subject is 1,200 square feet. My comp is 1,100, so it's worse, right? So what am I doing? Adding for the value of how many square feet? 100 again, right? But this time it's plus 4,000 square feet. No adjustment for bedrooms. No adjustment for bathrooms. So 112 plus 4,000, what do we come up with magically? $116,000. That looks like B all day long to me.
If you end up getting one of them off, that means you're doing something wrong.
And so Sean's question is a good one. If it's one of these questions where you have to come up with the adjustments. Now, if they give you the adjustments, you're going to end up with a range of value, okay? Because everyone's going to give you a different number. But if you have to come up with the adjustments, you're essentially what they call equalizing the thing. So that means every comp's going to give you the same number. If you have to do like this and come up with the adjustments, you should get the same number for all 3 comps. I'm sorry? Just for test taking purposes. In real life, you're going to probably talk to an appraiser and get the adjustments that you would use. Or your broker in charge. Okay? With the subject. Remember, once you start applying the adjustments, you're always comparing back to this subject. Okay? Yes, ma'am, Colin.
I did it like, since we figured out how much each square foot costs and how much the bathrooms cost, I just calculated how much each bedroom would be worth, and then just added it and got 116. Can I do it like that?
You did what now?
Since we figured out how much each square foot cost, which was $40, I took this and calculated that, so it'd be 52,000 for this, and then it would be 20,000 for the bathrooms, and then I subtracted out what those both cost from 120 and got 48,000, which means each bedroom would be 24,000, and then I just added that all together and got 116.
That will work when you're doing it this way. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way consistently because it won't work when they give you the adjustments to do it that way. When you're coming up with the adjustments, yes, you can do it that way. Okay? All right.
The process is to try to find, for example, like this, try to find similar comps within the comps.
Right. When they don't give you the adjustments. When they don't give you, because remember, every CMA is ultimately going to end with adjustments, right? You have to have the adjustments. If you look and I've got a square footage difference, I've got to know what 1 square foot's worth. Well, they didn't give me that, so now I have to hunt for it. And when you have to hunt for it, you're hunting within the comps for it. For all your adjustments. And then once you've got them, then you come back and apply them. And that's when you start comparing back to the subject property. Okay? All right, number 10 is going to be your homework. I'm not letting you go yet, by the way, but number 10 is going to be homework. So that we can talk about a different approach. 10 is homework. We're going to talk about 11 here in just a second. Because we're going to the cost approach.